Hello, everybody. It is your professor, Rocco, you boy, coming at you once again with another Age of Sigmar video. In this class, we are going to be talking about our part 2 here of our breakdown with the new battle plans. I generally haven't really dove that deep into them yet because I wanted to give you my fresh initial gut reaction to rereading these. I've got the screenshots to put them in the thing, and I'm like, all right, cool. And then totally forgot about them for the rest of the day. And now here we are recording. I'm ready to go with my fresh takes. And this is going to be specifically the new battle plans in the General's Handbook, the ones that they tacked on from last General's Handbook. I could cover them in another video if you want, but I figured this might be a bit more pertinent. Oh, dear students. And hopefully you like it, Give a like, subscribe, the whole 9 yards, And then we can have more content like this coming around. More in-depth dives of things. As I pull up my notes on my phone for what the battle tactics are. I'm going to talk about them in reference to some of this. So, first things first, with this is called Only the Worthy. And I love the little flavor text where it says, "Sometimes the day is carried by the example of a handful of individuals possessed of a rare clarity of purpose." I love the little blurbs. And it's normal attacker, defender. Attacker, we see in deployment here, chooses the territory because you roll off, see who's attacker, defender. And they deploy first. You got to be wholly within your territory, more than 9 inches away from enemy territory. So technically, you start off 18 inches and like a nudge away from each other. I love that the territories are the full halves of the board. I play Hammerhall. In its current iteration, we do a lot of fun stuff with territories. There are other armies that do stuff with their territory. And it's nice, especially if you have like a terrain feature, faction terrain feature that has to be wholly within your territory and so far away from other stuff. You get a lot of freedom of movement with that. So I'm a fan of that. All right, our little twist here is Shrines of Conquest. While there are any Galatian champions, which, as we remember, are foot heroes that are 9 wounds or less, within 6 inches of an objective, only that Galatian champion can contest that objective. And in addition, no more than 1 Galatian champion from the same army can contest the same objective at the same time. If you have 2, like 1 from each army, going at each other, I'm going to just assume it's a draw. Because this feels like objective secured in 40k, where you get like a certain type of unit supersedes other units in capturing objectives. But there is no clause that says, oh, if you have 1 of each, we go down to counting of how many models are there. So, I don't know, I like this. It feels really thematic that they're going to duel a lot. And also, I feel like this is nice if you have like a foot hero and like a screen defending your home objective, and like your opponent teleports stuff into your backfield and then makes that charge on that screen. Previously, they would just outnumber your hero after they killed the screen on the objective and take it. But, this gives you a bit more safety in having like a priest or a buffing hero, like a wizard, in your backfield, just holding that home objective for you and being all right. And again, these are in the backfield here. They're 11 up, and then the other ones are 22 inches up, and then 15 over on the middle of the table there. I like the setup for objectives, and it's hold 1, hold 2, hold more. For those just joining us and that haven't been playing Age of Sigmar that much or that competitively, it's the standard scoring that's been in place of score 1 victory point if you control at least 1 objective, score another victory point if you control 2 or more, score a 3rd point if you control more objectives than your opponent, and then you score 2 victory points for each battle tactic you picked and completed that turn. And again, it's 1 battle tactic per turn, generally. I say that because I think there's a battle plan that screws with that. And you score 3 victory points at the end of the game if you do your grand strategy. So the maximum points you should be able to score, because Games Workshop has gotten rid of scoring bonus points on certain battle tactics, is, I believe, just 5. And if you go first, generally here's what you do. Uh, it depends on the army if you're more aggressive or whatever. But if you're trying to play this cagey and reactionary, like how I've generally been teaching on this channel, you hold your home objective. You throw up an expendable unit on one of the two middle objectives. Like, let's say I'm the defender. Here's my mouse. I would probably swing for this objective, and then what I would do is I would move most of my army in front of here, but really over here, controlling this rectangle, so that my opponent, they start off holding one objective in their deployment zone. We're deployed too far away to hold one of the middle objectives right away. And unless they have some kind of special rule to deploy closer, most armies don't. So if I'm going first, I hold one, I hold two, and I hold more than my opponent, because two is more than one. Great. My opponent's turn, that means they have to make a push for two different objectives to outnumber me. So they're probably going to go for both middle objectives. That means they have to split some of their power to go over here, far away from my army. Or they're going to try to bum rush me in the middle, which is a fight I want to take anyway. Because all my stuff is here, right? And again, you're 18 inches away from each other. If an army has run and charge or some way to buff the movement characteristic of a unit, there's a good chance they're getting one or two units in on a long charge. Or if they have a lot of cavalry, it's doable. Be careful with your redeploys here if you're going to try that. Or if you're moving up, like, yeah, I'm going to run and charge my witch elves. And then, I'm like, yeah, it's an 8-inch charge because I ran up and I rolled bad, but, it's whatever. And then they redeploy. And they get a 6. You're like, dang, that's rough. So, it's things to be mindful of with this. But if you go first, you play for two objectives, and you force your opponent to still spread out. Even if they go for your home objective, they have to try to send something to either one of these side ones to hold more than you. I would go for the path of least resistance. Most people do. So if I'm blue and I control this one and that one when I was made to go first, my opponent, I would send something here in either. Yeah, there should be a whole army around here. That shouldn't work. So they should try to go here. Usually it's what happens. And then depending on who gets the priority, if the defender, in this case, the blue side, gets the priority, your opponent's army all of a sudden isn't all together. It's split up between three objectives, and you get the opportunity to surround a part of it and destroy it. If your opponent, the red guy, the attacker, gets the priority, well, you're still really condensed, so it's going to be very hard to pick off your stronger units, and they're going to have to get into you, and that's okay, because that's where you want them to be when it's your turn. So then you fight back, then hopefully you get the double turn the next battle round and finish them off. Overall, I really like this battle plan. Also, if I was going second, again, I would try to take the two side objectives with as little as possible in my army and try to force my opponent to not be able to reinforce either side objective. Like, I would just try to use my models and my units to, like, move block them from touching those objectives. Yeah, I'd score my 5 points. This is something that I would like to, like, if I'm picking a battle tactic, I would definitely try, if I'm going first, desecrate their lands, because we're so close to each other that I can probably just walk up to the middle of the board, find a piece of terrain. Because again, it says pick one terrain feature or faction terrain feature that is partially or wholly within enemy territory. You complete this battle tactic, desecrate their lands, if you control that terrain feature at the end of this turn. It's 9 inches. Probably run something. You need to come close to it anyway, because you got to go to the middle of the table to score objectives. I'm already doing it. That's great. If I'm going second, I would look at something like gaining momentum. Pick one enemy unit on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed during this turn, and you control more objectives than your opponent at the end of this turn. And if I'm going second, my opponent, hopefully smartly, put a really cheap unit that's going to die on one of these middle objectives, or they were a little bit not on the ball and spread out their whole army to try to cover the middle of the board and the two side objectives. If they did that, they've overextended. I'm going to take both side objectives because it's going to be really easy for me to move up and charge because they moved close enough to take them. Then I'm going to destroy a unit anyway. So again, this is just stuff I would do anyway. Yeah, that's what I think of Only the Worthy. I like it. Path of a Champion. Um, Wall strategy. Wall strategy is the province of an army's general. Its champions and officers are relied upon to seize tactical opportunities and make more immediate gains. I'm gonna be goofy, don't mind me. Again, attacker defender, pick the territory. We're set up in quarters, table quarters, 4 objectives. The special sauce, we're 9 inches away from enemy territory again. So really, think of your deployment zone more as a little bit in front of your home objective by a couple inches, but really it's these 3 quarters and like a chunk of this. It's tight in there, is what I'm getting at. And so the specialty thing here is at the start of your hero phase, if any friendly Galatian champion, aka foot hero 9 wounds or lower that doesn't have a mount, or maybe a companion that's still working on an FAQ for day 1, if any of your friendly Galatian champions are contesting an objective that is wholly outside your territory, you can pick 2 battle tactics to complete in that turn instead of only 1. Again, this emphasizes having more Galatian champions and fighting over these objectives in no man's land. Because again, it's score 1 victory point if you control at least 1 objective, score 1 if you control 2 or more, score 1 victory point for more objectives than your opponent, score 2 victory points for each completed battle tactic you pick that turn. So you cannot repeat battle tactics. So if you're going to do this, and there's only so many battle tactics you can even attempt, and this is start of the hero phase. So this is going to be a battle round 2. If you're on an objective, you won priority, you have a foot hero flapping in the breeze in no man's land on one of these 2 objectives. You can, I don't know why you want to, but you could try to bump up your lead by calling out 2 battle tactics to complete. Again, looking at this from the defender's perspective here, this is actually closer because, again, it's 11 inches up compared to 15 over. So this is going to be more of your strong side of like the quickest you can get to over here. And this is going to be a pain in the butt if you're going first to get over here. And vice versa, they go down, and then this is the far one for the red team. So I like the leadership forged in battle. I think that is a cool rule. Again, it's flavorful. It's on target for what they want to accomplish here in list building is having people bring a bunch of these Galatian champions. So where this gets hard is there's nothing in the middle to fight over. So if you're going first, one of the things you could do is try to pin your opponent in their territory. And when I say pin, I mean like literally block their way with your army so they cannot reach one of or both of these 2 side objectives and actually leave their territory. Again, if you're going first, you just need to grab a second objective to score maximum points on your primary. And again, some of these things are like what? Cunning maneuver. Pick 1 friendly Galatian champion on the battlefield that is more than 3 inches from all enemy units. If you complete this battle tactic, if at the end of your turn that Galatian champion is more than 3 inches from all enemy units and is contesting an objective you control that is wholly outside your territory. All right, cool. If I'm figure out I'm going first, I'm putting a foot hero here. I'm going to auto 6 run them to there. Oops. Excuse me. Got excited with my clicking. Yeah, I'm gonna auto run them to here. Most foot heroes move 5 inches anyway. So that's 11 inches. I'm gonna very easily. I don't even think I need to go that far on a run to score this. Uh, I'd still probably auto six it just so I don't leave it to roll. Like a one would screw me. But that's a great use of a command point to score a bunch of stuff. I'd probably even do the heroic action to try to get an extra command point on that soldier there, on that hero, that officer of my army. To just send him the heck off. Do your cunning maneuver. Life is good. And then I would use the rest of my army to try to body block and keep my opponent in their territory so that they just can't get out and walk the long way around to my home objective. And then it's like we're playing the board the long way, the 60-inch long way instead of the 44-inch going across. Yet I like the battle plan. I like the leadership forged in battle. If you win that priority roll and you're controlling one of these middle objectives already, run the score up. That's great. It's going to feel awful if you fail both your battle tactics. I'm just straight up saying that right now. But like, if you win the priority and an eye for an eye and desecrate their lands is right there in front of you, do it. Run up that score. Hopefully you're playing in a tournament that allows battle tactics from your battle tomes so that you have more of a variety. Because again, if you're like Mega Gargants, right, and you get this, well, actually, you don't have any Galatian champions, so you don't care. And this battle plan feels a little rough. But that means that your opponent's going to be trying to contest with a foot hero near a Mega Gargant or a bunch of Man Crusher Gargants, and it's just going to die. You really need your opponent to spread out, and then you just pick them off piece by piece. And you don't care about the bonus points, but it's going to be a little rough. But again, they have to start their hero phase in range of an objective that is outside their territory to do the battle tactic thing. And a lot of these battle tactics are kind of hard now. So it's not impossible, but it's a little rough if you're a Mega Gargant. And a lot of other people are, like Night Haunt, are going to love this with their deep striking onto stuff to put screens up to like block someone in their territory and then have the heroes just float around everywhere enjoying life. Unlife. I don't know. They're dead. But they're not dying. Not with this one. And again, I like it. I like it a lot. It's thematic. It's fun. Again, not a huge fan of the lack of territory. Just because, again, of like faction terrain. This is a little rough about where to put it. And if your opponent brought a bunch of monsters, which they're actually disincentivized to, you might have to put your faction terrain outside of your deployment zone, but in your territory, like in that kind of no man's land around like here-ish or here-ish. Hopefully they don't have a monster to do a monster section and destroy it. But if you could get a faction terrain piece up here, like if I'm Deepkin and I have the boat like right here, that's going to help me just physically block my opponent from getting onto my objective. And I'll garrison it in my turn or do whatever I will with it later. Alright, next. The Jaws of Gallet. In Gur, the land itself is possessed of a hungry animus. This is particularly evident in Gallet, where sinkholes open up with perilous frequency, swallowing in moments assets that had been acquired at a steep cost in blood. I'm a DM for Dungeons and Dragons and a GM for Soulbound. I do voices, don't mind me. Again, nothing crazy with the battlefield. Let's see. The defender sets up the battlefield. First, they set up objectives as shown. Then they set up the recommended number of terrain features as shown on the map. Or shown on the pitch battles table. That's right. We have a table for that now, which is cool. Um, Again, deployment, attacker picks. So the special rule here, you catch it on here. We just really skipped to the special rule. And again, we're deploying 9 inches away from enemy territory. We've got this funky L-shaped deployment, 5 objectives, 1 dead center in the middle, and then others are making a rectangle around it. This is gonna be really easy to set up actually, for a tournament because it just kind of makes sense. So 9 inches away, getting my little mouse out, like from here, it's gonna probably be like, again, this is 11 inches, so we go a little bit short, and then we just kind of, it'll be like from here back. This will be around your cutoff line, functionally. Um, so you're not getting as much out of the L onto these corner objectives as you would want to think. I do appreciate the bigger territories though, because again, something like Desecrate Their Lands is a little bit easier. And if your opponent, because again, these are narrow at 11 inches out from the back of the table, these are very narrow, and you just, if you deploy there and you've got big chunky bases, you're not gonna have the numbers you would initially think you'd have. So Swallowed by the Caverns here. Let's go to the rule. At the start of each battle round after the first, after priority has been determined, the player taking second turn in that battle round can pick one objective on the battlefield to be swallowed by the caverns below. If they do so, that objective is removed from play. Alright, so they brought back the rule of burn an objective if you're going second from the beginning of 3rd edition. This time I'll probably remember it because that's like the whole thing. And this is the whole score 1, score 2, score more, score your battle tactic. Great. So, again, so starting from each battle round after the first, they're just adding extra words to say, starting from battle round 2 on, do this thing. So if you go second, you get to burn an objective. And it's just gone. No one scores any points. So really, if I'm going second in battle round 2, I'm burning my opponent's home objective quickly, and then I'm just never planning on going that deep into their territory ever for the rest of the game. That's just the first thing that jumps out to me. This will be really useful, again, if your opponent hard committed to an objective where maybe half of their army is, and you just burn it, or you just have nothing near there, and they just have like a unit that's a few hundred points just sitting on an objective. Again, burn that one. Make it so that you don't have to fight as many points of enemy units as they have. Again, the whole point is you outnumber them, you whittle down a unit in shooting, you finish it off in charging, you collapse on something they sent out to take these 3 objectives that are in no man's land going diagonally along the board. If I can get my mouse to go. Here we go. Again, these 3 here. That's what I'm considering no man's land. Because again, whoever's going first it's hold 1, hold 2, hold more. We cannot be deployed close enough to claim this objective or that objective. If you're going first, don't be a goober and go for this middle objective. You do not have to go for this middle objective. This is probably a trap. If your opponent hard committed to one of these angles over here, go to the other one. Or, if you have some kind of crazy movement shenanigan, this is 22 inches from here to here. If you have cavalry that can run and charge, or something, dogpile on one of these side objectives, whatever you see in deployment. This is where deployment's going to really matter. See where your opponent deployed the hardest, like the most points of their army. I would just try to ignore it and pick at the weaker flank. If you deployed so that all your stuff is kind of evenly spread, just pick one objective and take it. That's it. And again, play defensive in case your opponent's going to try to double turn you, because they're going to take their turn at bottom of one, run up to the middle, run to this corner. They have more than you. And then hopefully, by the movement it takes to get to the middle in here, you've pulled your stuff from over here back a little bit to threaten the middle, and your stuff over here holds this. You know, they can score their three objectives. That's hold one, hold two, hold more, 3-2. Really, it's you're trying to not have a punishing double turn against you. Um, Sorry, this is just extra sensitive right now. You just try not to have a punishing double turn against you, and it's a numbers game. You just need to have more than your opponent. You don't need to go and have all of them. And if you're going to go second in battle round 2, right? They double turned you. That's great. First thing I'm doing is I am burning probably their home objective. So then it forces anything they left, like again, assuming I'm blue and they're red, I'm burning this home objective. If I'm going second and I control this one and that one, they control two objectives. What do you do to stop me? You know, they have to hold. They have to keep stuff here to hold it. You can try to move in, but again, I went first. I pulled my troops back here. I'm keeping this strong center. This is gone. They have two objectives. Now they need to take a fight either here, which they avoided, or here against the strength of my army in the middle. And it's going to be rough. Again, barring dice rolls fluctuating either side, if everyone's rolling the average, it's going to be very hard for them to take my center objective. And I just burnt an objective for free that I'll never have to go around. And then, by the time my opponent moves enough of their stuff in range to fight me, well, that's a long way across the board to go. It's going to be rough to get there. At which point, they can't really screen that effectively. Troops aren't always going to be in buffing range of heroes, and I have a really good shot at winning. We like Jaws of Gallet. Ours for the taking. A great prize in enemy territory lies tantalizingly close. However, your own resources are equally exposed. You must focus your efforts on protecting what's yours while pushing to seize the valuables of the foe. A capable leader centrally positioned would be a boon in such a confrontation, as they would provide an anchor for the simultaneous offense and defense. Offensive and defense. Okay. The armies are here. Again, we're at a very long L shape. We have. Is this battle for the pass? Okay, we have each have a home objective at the skinny end of the deployment. The objective on the border of each territory is the home objective relevant to each player. Score 1 if you control your home objective. Score 1 if you control the center objective. Score 2 if you control the enemy's home objective. Score 1 victory point if you control the center objective. And that objective is contested by a friendly Galatian champion. Score 2 victory points if you complete a battle tactic that you picked that turn. Grand strategy worth 3 points. Very important. Because a lot of these games, everyone's got the same bad battle tactics. Or the same hard battle tactics. They're not bad. Some of them are hard. Some of them are easy. It's a rough mix. Hopefully you have one or two that you can do out of your battle tome to supplement them. It's hard to score battle tactics. You're probably scoring 4 over the course of a battle if everything goes good. If everything's perfect, you probably won already if you're scoring all 5. So this is a very interesting take on Battle for the Past. If long ago, it used to be you went along the long table edges. You had like a small deployment, um, like here, and you fought the long way. Now we're going at a weird angle, and you're incentivized to deploy a lot of your stuff here to threaten the enemy home objective. And the fun part of this, and I mean, this is air quotes fun, right? If you go first, this is a battle plan you lose on deployment. I'm not gonna lie. This is a battle plan you can lose on deployment. So you're incentivized to go hard in front of the enemy home objective. So you score one victory point if you control the center objective, no matter what. Score a bonus if you control it with a Galatian champion. That is 11 inches out. Again, if you're going first, you run your little foot hero as fast as it can onto that center objective, and you just dog pile. You have token whatever on your home objective if you know you're deploying first and you can do this right? And you just bull rush your opponent here because there's only so much they can fit this 11 by 15-inch rectangle. And then you just, again, try to body block it so they can't even get on their own home objective. And maybe you have like an anvil, a really tanky unit, like let's say a unit of Phoenix Guard that are a 4-up save with a 4-up ward save afterwards on your home objective. Or the equivalent, Maybe if you're, uh, if you're chaos, you're playing like Slaves to Darkness, you've got a block of Chaos Warriors with the Nurgle banner sitting on an objective. But this is really this is the battle plan where if your army can do an alpha strike, you are happy. If your army is really built around castling around and by like surrounding a few core heroes and buffs that buff your army up and you just can't take up space, this is kind of a rough battle plan, especially if you don't have like cavalry or some kind of speed in your army that can fly maybe. Um Because the mind game is if you know you're going second, you're just overly deploying on your home objective, right? And you're just like, try me. But how much stuff can you reliably fit in range of scoring in your home objective so that it doesn't get taken at the top of one? Because really, this is a bonus point situation too. So you're scoring one, you're going first. You should be able to score your own home objective and the center objective with a bonus point. So that's 3 points right there. Battle tactic for 5. Again, with the territory thing, desecrate their lands is an amazing opener. I'm very, very pro desecrate their lands here. Or realistically, do the one where, again, you have a Galatian champion run up onto the center objective, scoring you that bonus point. You're gonna do it anyway. Why not score the battle tactic for it? Just off the bat, get it out of the way easy while you still have Galatian champions alive. Just do that. Just do it. So you're scoring 5 points right there. And if you're going first, what you do is you screen out your home objective so your opponent can't just walk onto it. And even if they charge your unit, they won't have bodies on top of the objective because you're just moving out in front of them outside of the scoring range. And then it's just how many points can you throw at their home objective? How many points of models can you throw at them to have an effective shooting and combat phase to clear out whatever they put behind their home objective in that small 1/5 of their territory in deployment zone? Because again, if I have run in charge, I have a teleport, I have something to get me over there, I'm going to take it. That is 11 inches from my territory to their objective, their home objective. And again, If I'm moving 5 inches, that's a 6 inch charge. They can't redeploy every unit. And if I have some kind of run in charge, I might just be able to outnumber them on their own objective anyway, just from the sheer amount of bodies I have there. Like, I'm a Mega Gargant, and I count as 30 whatever bodies, and I just walk on their home objective. Against someone like Stormcast that just don't have the models, or like an Ironjaw's army that just don't have the models, and they built for foot heroes. They don't have a Maw Crusher I'm that worried about. I just take all three objectives, walk on it, and say, okay, try me. And you deny the whole Galatian champion thing because you don't care. Because you have to control the center objective and have a hero in range of it. I like ours for the taking. I like this take on Battle for the Pass because this is the first time where we start off that close to an enemy home objective, and you're like, all right, cool. This is rough, and it's thematic. It works. I'm definitely thinking of lists with 2 or 3 Galatian champions now in my different armies. I really hope they rule that Deepkin foot heroes count. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know, because I really like the Tidecaster. My army as is right now, I don't know who I put in as my second Galatian champion. If it gets ruled they can have that and the pet creatures. What I would do, because again, in a battle plan like this, where you want to score those bonus points, Night Haunt are gonna love this. Flesh Eater Courts are gonna love this. A bunch of cheap foot heroes that you could just bring up to the center of the table, and if one dies, cool. You've got 3 other ones at least, plus your 2 named heroes that you're just running around the board with. And this is very much a battle plan where I feel like it's going to be decided battle round 3 on, because the first 2 battle rounds should just be a complete and utter bloodbath. And it's who can withstand the storm, because again, it's these long deployment and a close deployment to each other with these territories. It's going to really come down to, do you slow play this, castle around your home objective, survive the initial brunt, and then slowly push up the middle of the board the long way, which by then turn 3 you get the home objective and hope of your opponent, and you've hopefully destroyed their army? Or do you just alpha strike turn 1 because your opponent deployed badly? And again, alpha strike, I mean, you just turn 1, you throw everything in the kitchen sink at your opponent just to table them. Do you do that, score the bonus points, and just hamstring them enough? Like, you threw, let's say, 1,500 points of your army through different buffs, movement, whatever. We're able to make charges, shoot your opponent, do whatever, and they killed enough so that at the bottom of turn 1, your opponent just literally does not have enough army left to function in this game. Ironjaws are going to be really interesting in this because of their speed and their movement in the hero phase. It's going to be really interesting. I like this a lot. I like this a lot. Honestly, me with sharks too in Deepkin. They have the movement. Eels have the movement. This is interesting. I like this. This is a we come back and think later kind of moment. Battle Plan 5, twists and turns. Molten amberstone bubbles up from fissures in this location, though the precise moment at which this phenomenon occurs is anyone's guess. One can only wait for the distinctive rumbling sounds that precede the effusion of the precious resource and then rush to gather it. Alright, so the thing with this is we've got the L deployment again. 5 objectives diagonally up the middle of the board. Objectives are either active or inactive. At the start of the battlefield, they're all active. Realmstone is gushing out of them. It's horrible. Changing priorities. At the end of each player's turn, after any victory points have been scored, and so this is after Battle Shock, you scored your points. The player whose turn is taking place must roll a dice for each active objective they control. Add 1 to the roll if that objective is contested by friendly Galatian champions. On a 1 to 3, that objective becomes inactive. On a 4 or higher, that objective remains active. If you have a foot hero nearby, on a 3 up, you keep scoring points from that. At the start of each player's hero's phase, the player whose turn is taking place rolls a dice for each inactive objective they control. On a 1 to 3, it remains inactive. Add 1 to the roll for any inactive objective that is contested by a friendly Galatian champion. On a 4 or more, that becomes active once more. Again, that a 3 up if you have a foot hero nearby. So what this means is at the end of each player's turn, if it's your turn, you roll to see if your active objectives shut off. At the start of your own hero phase, though, any of the objectives that have shut off, you roll to see if they turn back on. And it gets better for each roll if you have a foot hero nearby contesting an objective. And you have to own it as well. So they have to be, you own the objective and they're wholly, well, at least partially within 6 inches of the objective. Not wholly, partially. Victory points here go as followed. Score 1 victory point if you control at least 1 active objective. Score 1 victory point if you control 2 or more active objectives. Score 1 victory point if you control more active objectives than your opponent. Score 2 victory points if you do your battle tactic. So, this is almost like okay. Battle plans like this, where objectives are randomly active around fall to the table. I like them from a narrative standpoint. I appreciate people love this type of battle plan. It is very fun, especially in a fun narrative setting. Fun. Very fun. For me personally, I am not a fan of this type of battle plan in a competitive setting because at any given point, I could control all 5 objectives. But if only one ends up being active because of how I roll, then my opponent comes in and takes that one. They'll hold at least 1 and score more than me and their battle tactic. If both players cannot roll a 4 up or higher on their objectives and don't have heroes in range, so all these things become inactive. Where the competitive player mindset comes in is how do you score your battle tactic? So this is why it's a competitive battle plan. Is you need to figure out, all right, this is what I'm working with this turn. These objectives shut off, these objectives turned on. How do I make this work for me and my army? That is why this is a great competitive battle plan and why they keep having battle plans like relocation orb and then all the comet fall stuff of objectives randomly falling around the table, because it comes down to how do you, the player, respond to this change on the table. It makes it very dynamic. No game of this battle plan should ever play out the same. And that in itself is a very awesome challenge. I went from wanting 2 Galatian champions in my list. Most of my lists have like one for my Deepkin. My cities list have like 2 to 3. Sylvaneth, I don't even think I was bringing any with how I built the list because I wanted to build a bunch of tree men and Oakenbrow, or tree lord ancients, and spirits of Durthu. So I didn't actually have room for any of this. But all of that being said, I'm trying to think of how I fit like 3 Galatian champions in a list. I like the far corner objectives being out as far as they are. Each army has, again, an easy, walkable way to get to them. How I see all of these battle plans and how I play Warhammer is I force my opponent who wants to go the short way along the table to go the long way. I swoop around them, make them separate their troops to capture as many objectives as possible, and go from there and play reactionary. Unfortunately, because of the changing priorities, and I cannot guarantee a 3-up. I played Deepkin. I played Deepkin when it was a 2-up, rerolling ones to hit from all the buffs I used to do in the old book. I still found ways to miss a lot. So with this, you need to be very certain about your battle tactic. And I think everyone's going to have to almost have like a gentlewoman's agreement to spread their armies out. Or you take the tactic of, I am just going to clear half of the table. In that half of the table, I will control, like this half of the table, if I'm the blue guy. I want to control the 3 objectives. Statistically, I should have more active objectives that stay active after I score than my opponent, who should only hold 2 objectives. Will that work? No, because it's a dice game, and the dice want to tell their own story. They're the narrator. We just listen. You know, it's how you get these epic stands of like a Free Guild Guardsman model on a 4-up save, dueling a Great Unclean One, because all of the dice miss when the Great Unclean One's rolling whatever it's rolling, and it messes up the puke, and it got a perils. It rolled double ones to cast, so it hurt itself, and the Free Guild Guardsman stabs it for the last wound, and then the thing dies in an explosion of Nurglings, and you have a ward save nearby, and you roll the 6-up, and the Guardsman lives, and you're having like, huzzah! That's this battle plan. Again, working with what you got and setting yourself up for the best possible amount of success with what you have available. Is that going to be hard? Yeah, of course. It's a tournament battle plan. Yes. Will it be fun? For other people, yes. For me, eventually. I am staring at this. The average player is going to have fun with this no matter what. I just am in that, I don't know if a 3-up is high enough. I might have needed a 2-up GW. That's fine. We work with what we have. Battle Plan 6. Position over power. Chunks of amberbone have been exposed in the walls of this canyon by a recent tectonic disturbance, but your advisors have warned that they will soon be swallowed up by the hungry bedrock of Gallet. I keep going Gallet instead of Gallet, but I like Gallet. I'm American. My dialect saying it. Some people like saying French Gallet. Good for them. You must dispatch capable leaders to secure what they can from these sites before the land reclaims them. This is a funky deployment. We're still 9 inches away from enemy territory. At the start of the 4th battle round, the 2 objectives on either flank go away. How this battle plan works for scoring. Score 1 if you control at least 1 objective. Score 2. Score 1, score 2, score more. And the funky bit is score 1 extra victory point if you control any flank objectives that are contested by a friendly Galatian champion. And the battle tactic and grand strategy. So here's the fun part of that. Score 1 victory point if you control any flank objectives. You just have to control one of them. So, If you have a hero that comes in through reserves or summoning, can you summon a Galatian champion on? I don't think you can, actually, now that I'm thinking about that out loud, because they have a thing about special rules. Okay, so what is a Galatian champion? Heroes with the wounds characteristic that is 10 or less, 9 or lower, that does not have a mount and are not unique, gain the Galatian champion keyword. So I guess you can summon them on. Okay. Demon armies and armies that deep strike in from the table edges, let alone just deep striking in general anywhere on the table, are gonna love this objective. Again, if you go first, just take one flank objective with one of these heroes and screen them out. Put your most anvil-y troop, your most defensive troops. I don't care if you want to put your most expendable troops. Make it so that your opponent, in whatever territory they're in, is boxed in while you hold one of these flank objectives. So then they can just never physically get to the other flank objective and not threaten your home objective. That is very much easier said than done. I fully admit it. It is going to be hard. Because, again, like I've been saying about all the strategy about, spread your opponent's army out and pick it off piece by piece by piece by piece. You cannot do that in this battle plan because they're all right there. You're all right there. You're going to run at each other in the middle and smack each other around. That's fine. That's acceptable. But if you have some way to actually reach a flank objective, because again, it's 6 inches out from the center of the objective. We know this is 15 inches away. So, using our calculator so we don't sound stupid on the internet, 15 minus 6 is you need to go 9 and a bit in movement. So you're auto running a hero if you don't have deep striking. Or you teleport, or you whatever, to get a flank objective if you go first. You hold 1, you hold 2, you hold more, score the bonus point, get your battle tactic of having a Galatian champion on an objective and not near an enemy unit, because you start off not in combat anyway. That's what the within 3 is. Score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points, and block your opponent in their territory. Make them waste the double turn fighting their way out of their territory, so then they have 2 turns of not scoring 6 points. They'll score 1 for holding their home objective and maybe a battle tactic. So it'll be you score 6, they score 3, they score 3, you score 6. All of a sudden it's 12-6, and the side objectives go away at the start of the 4th battle round. So all of a sudden it's 12-6. You control the flanks. They have 1 turn to score a bonus point, and the game is over because you win mathematically. Play out for your grand strategies and try to hold on to your home objective with all your might. It's rough, but it's doable. This is a very fun objective that definitely messes with how I want to play Age of Sigmar. Now, what about you? What army do you think is going to be great for all this? What do you think is going to be bad? Leave a like and subscribe, for more content like this. And say all this don't talk to yourself. You can talk to yourself. I talk to myself all the time. Sometimes I need an expert opinion. But for you, if you want to talk to me, talk in the comments below. And we can talk about this together in our little community here. And, thank you for coming to class, dear student. And as I like to say at the end of all of our videos, class dismissed. Bye.